Alright, well hello, I'm Chris, and this is my almost everything dash installation video. The other video we got the dash ready to be installed with the wiring, and now we're going under here and we're going to make sure everything is as close to perfect as we can get it. The only thing we're not going to be putting on in this video is a steering column. But we're going to go over all the installation, real quick parts list, bolts and everything like that, just to give you a real good idea so you can successfully get your car put back together if you take it all apart. Okay, so the first thing is you have to get your firewall insulation and your under dash insulation. And I'm just trying to flatten it back out, but that's what it looks like, kind of thin. So the tape is in case we have to make repairs, real sticky tape. And you're going to need something to glue the insulation in the under dash. Okay, so that's the firewall insulation. Let's just finish putting it in there. I shaved that firewall. Okay, so you see why the tape's important, because we need to hold this back up for now. Because we got creative right here, we use that old AC plug to make a grommet, drilled it through so I could run my auxiliary gauge lines through here. But you see how the firewall installation wasn't perfect. So I'm just giving you an idea because you want to try to patch up as much as you can. Alright, we've cut a little piece out. Got the speedometer cable grommet. Now it's going to have this piece that goes right here for the wiring harness. I believe these are the original screws. It's hard to see, but you'll have screw holes already drilled. Okay, so I took the pedals back off because I was sandblasting, and see what happens. Everything has to come back off and be checked and inspected. White lithium. Alright, got that together. The pedal goes over this first, grommet slides through here, and then pushes through here. Now the next step is to put the under dash in. You want to put the under dash before you put the e-brake and the pedal housing. It has a little square. It's going to go around that. I punched that out because I thought that's where that went, but I guess not. That's all we're going to do is we're just going to glue this first piece in here like this. Just take a look at that. That's just what I came up with. It seems like it's what it's supposed to do. This is actually the hardest part of the whole freaking job, is figuring out where this goes. I have no idea. It didn't have any pre-cut things on it. Probably cut that wrong, but I'm gonna go ahead and figure out where all this goes. You'll find that square on it, so that's all I did. I did have to cut it out around there. I just stuffed it all in there. This other piece is not hard at all. See the line? It just connects to that one. Now I did have to mark those holes and cut those holes out for that stuff right there, but that's not a big deal. So the firewall, you definitely want to buy the reproduction. You could buy that or use Dynamat or whatever you want, but that's what it looks like. Let's move on. I have a video on here showing you how to go through this. It's one of my early videos. It's kind of hard to watch, but it does show what's being done here. We added the neutral safety switch, converted to a standard. You want to get these threads as perfect as possible so that you can finger tight these, because man, it's very, very difficult to get in that spot right there on the freaking car. Believe me, I just did it. So in my pedal video, I talk about welding this nut on here. You really don't have to do that. I just put mine like that so the pedal actually hits the bumper, but it's totally optional, doesn't matter. Okay, so once you go through the pedal, it's going to use this pin and this clip. Okay, so just make sure it has this little thing for the flasher. It's ready to go back in the car. Okay, so the e-brake housing, Make sure he's got the screw up here. It's gonna have a switch that pulls out of the wiring harness if you have to. This switch grounds out to turn it on, so it needs to be cleaned. Alright, so you see it's got a little tab. 2 holes, 1 for the tab. Like that. We're not gonna screw this all the way down because that ground from the wiring harness, we're gonna ground it right here too. Alright, so there's also gonna be this little clip right here. Just slides off. Gonna hold the cable in. Okay, so we're getting ready to put the e-brake housing in. This is the e-brake switch. Be aware of that because we're going to connect a ground to it from the harness and we may not be able to see it. But you can still access this. There's 1 screw right here. Now before you start it in there, you got to get that cable right there hooked on it. Okay, just slide this off. Like that. See that? That's all. Now you can hook it. Screw. Remember the switch. We're gonna ground right there. Okay, I'm gonna go bolt the other side. So the only thing about the pedal housing is it joins the master cylinder and it's got that plastic seal that needs to be perfectly centered in that hole. So just be careful with that plastic seal. You can barely see it. Okay, so you're gonna have to weld a nut on there if you want the pedal to come out and hit the bumper, but this is the way it was from the factory. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in there, and we're just gonna put the threads to it until it's just flush right there, and then tighten the lock nut on it. Alright, just to hold it. Okay, so in here we're just making sure that that seal, the white seal, went through the firewall the correct way. Okay, so just make sure that that gray foam thing is in there like that with the clip. Now I'm not sure if that's just a dust shield or if that is a charcoal filter, but either way it needs to be in there. That's pretty much it down here. The dash and wiring can come in next. So you see we use the old AC electrical, drill it out for a grommet right there for auxiliary gauges, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so if you're new at this, take a picture of this because once that dash goes in, you're not going to see anything anymore. So these are the screws for the fuse box. They're 2 3/8 inch long, and they have some kind of, I don't know what that is in the middle, but that's what they look like, 5/16. We're getting ready to set the dash in. I have a dash removal video if you have no idea where the bolts are and everything, but it's going to sit on this cradle thing, and on the other side we're going to set it on those 2 cradles, and we're going to do that bolt up there on that L. If you have no idea, that's how you're going to set it in, and do that top bolt first and then that one second. Okay, but we need to clean the other side right here because that's our grounding point for our dash. Sit, hold it, put the bolts in, lift up on it. So all we have are those 2. Now we can go take a break, finish it later. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and bolt the dash in, and then we're gonna get started hooking every single thing up. First thing we wanna do is get this screwed in to the firewall right there. All right, so we got this screwed down. Now we're gonna go up here and just get it in this loop thing, just to hold it. Okay, so if you look right here, see this thing with the holes in it? It had one of these on there that fell off of the harness whenever I took it apart, so I'm gonna go ahead and mark it so I know that when I rewrap it, there's one right here. We're just gonna run it like that. It's easier to hook the switch up first before you screw it down. Okay, so now we get this tan for the emergency brake switch. We're gonna take this back off. So if you watch my videos, we talked about putting one of the 3 grounds right here to the e-brake housing. So that's one of the 3 grounds. So we're gonna hook this in first. Okay, and we're just gonna run the ground to it like that. Okay, and we're just gonna put it back on there like that. If the e-brake is adjusted, it's gonna be like that, braking the ground, and whenever you push the pedal, it completes the ground, turns the light on in the dash. This just goes to the plug to the back of the car. We don't have it in yet. So we have the wiring off the cluster. The cluster can come out like this. Okay, so this cluster has 7 screws. 2 we're gonna have to put in from the bottom, 2 at the ends, and then 3 on top. Okay, so the cluster uses these 1/4-inch socket head screws like this. Now we're getting ready to put the cluster in. You need to get this off of your grounding strap. Make sure the windshield wiper switch is in there, plugged up first. Headlight switch ready, if you have this one. Okay, door jamb switch, make sure these are all here. So we're gonna get these 2 wires ready for this switch. The switch has got to be screwed in first, and then we got to put them on. Okay, so see the switch coming through? We got plenty of room to reach in there and connect it. So we got the door jamb switch out of the way. All this is for the headlight switch. We're getting our ground ready for the cluster. The cluster I did in the other video. Stick it in and get the 2 top screws started. And the reason I'm doing it like this is because when the cluster and the wiring is on the dash, it just feels too heavy, and these dashes are old and it just almost feels like they want to split in the middle. I mean, that may be all in my mind, but that's the reason I'm doing it like this. Million times easier. You barely tighten these. Okay, so it's hard to see in real life too, but we're gonna hook this one up to the cluster real quick. We got the ground attached to the cluster. That can be pretty hard to put on. I had to move this light to get to it. But you also notice that we don't have the windshield in the car. That's why we're doing the dash right now. Really the best time to do the dash. So we're getting this ready to stab onto the cluster, but we're gonna go ahead and hook the dash plug up first. All right, now we can put this where it goes. Okay, so now we're just gonna put the rest of the cluster bolts in. Okay, so now we gotta use this grounding strap right here, this and the headlight switch. So we wanna put the headlight switch on the plug first. Okay, so the switch has to go in there only one way because of that. So it's gonna go in there like this. I'm gonna plug this up. Okay, so now this is gonna be hard because we gotta get this one and the one from the grounding strap on like that. Okay, see? You see what happened? I thought I super glued this, but I didn't. Okay, so that just really sucks. I'm just gonna have to deal with it. I don't care. Can't even see it. Now, we have the windshield out of the car, and that's the only reason we're doing it like this, because these are all original parts. These are very brittle, and I just don't feel comfortable having the weight of the wiring harness swinging on it and possibly bust this off, because I have one in there that's cracked, and you can already see how brittle it is. Just by running the screws back in there, it starts cracking. So yeah, it is better to fully assemble it and put it all in there. And if you have a windshield in your car, you're gonna have to do that. It's impossible to do all this with the windshield in the car. You can, but it's just not cool at all. Okay, so we pretty much got everything here. We went through the wiring harness. We know that all of this is legit and good. The speedometer cable, you can hook it up from here. I don't have one in yet. In this video, we're trying to get everything set up. Okay, we do understand that all this hooks back up to the steering column. We don't have it in here. I don't really think we need to go over that. Wiring a radio, we don't need to go over that, but I am gonna put the radio in at the end to show how it looks. So we got our 12-volt switch, comes on with the radio. We're just gonna run that over here to the clock, and the clock has its little tab right here. Right there. That's all there is to hooking the clock up. So we don't have a radio hooked up yet, or heater AC control, so that just hangs there. The ashtray has to go in before the cigarette lighter. So let's do that right now. Okay, so I just restored this ashtray just like everything else. Okay, this has to go in from the inside. You got to align this, so. All right, now we can do the cigarette lighter. It just unscrews like that. And you just unscrew it, hold it, and screw it on the other end. This is another one that's screwed up. Hopefully nobody notices. Put it in there like that. Or like that, yeah. Okay, so we all know how that one hooks up. It's just, all right. Okay, so now over here, we got another door switch. And remember, this one kind of plugs in. So, okay, so this one has this plastic clip that clips on one of them holes. So let's just get this so you can reach it easy. there. I don't know if it goes on that side or not, but that's where I'm putting it. Okay, so everything else is pretty much already hooked up. We're gonna go ahead and stick the radio in and the auxiliary gauges. It is so freaking error correct for these cars to have auxiliary gauges like this. I'm gonna clean them up, and I bought new instruments on here for this car, but still, I mean, if you drive old cars, you want as much information going on as possible. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and mount these somewhere, and we're gonna take a look at it when I get it done. Okay, so the dash is all in there. I just wanted to give you an idea on how to go through everything and just, you know, get it in there. The rest of that stuff is pretty simple to hook up. It's better to fully assemble it. You're gonna have to if you have a windshield, but these old parts, I just don't feel comfortable assembling a full dash because I have seen a busted dash before and it had nice radio holes in it. So, of course, new stuff doesn't matter. Assemble the whole damn thing. Stick it in there if it's new, but you see how much easier it was without the steering column. That's a big deal. That steering column in the way, man, I won't even put them in with steering columns or windshields anymore from just bad experiences like that. Not bad experiences, but just headaches and stuff. So this is the best way I found to do it. It took about 30 minutes to get the dash in and all the wiring hooked up. It didn't take very long at all. Okay, so in this video, that dash is being hooked up to go. Okay, this isn't no fake video. That's exactly how I put it in on my own car. I'm just giving you an idea and also showing you how much neater that thing looks whenever you delete those controls and get all that crap out of there. We have the aftermarket radio in there, and there's still plenty of room. Go ahead and delete that firewall. It's probably one of the best things you can do. So that's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.